All right, family, we back. We back. I missed y'all. Ridiculous amount. The hiatus was too long. A lot happened. I stepped back, had a baby. I missed y'all. I want to make sure everybody is tapped into season 2. We are starting in the crib, but we will be going to the studio sometime throughout this season. Stay with me. Everybody that's been watching my podcast through season 1 has said that they will prefer content over the environment, and they'll just grow with me. So that's all I want y'all to do. Just grow with me. This season is going to be big. I have a few big people that I want to come on, but I really just want to talk my shit, stay genuine. I'm not going to lie. Stay genuine, talk my shit, get this content out. I was struggling getting the content out, figuring out the time while having a kid, but I figured it out now. So we're all good. I wanted to make sure I was starting before the football season started, and the preseason is here. So we're going to go through everything, and we're going to start off with the stuff that we missed, right? So with the season ending, with us, season 1 ended with us speaking about the NFL, right? And the Super Bowl. And the Eagles won the Super Bowl, which was crazy. And they won the Super Bowl in a crazy manner. Jalen Hurts played Patrick Mahomes, MVP of the Super Bowl. And now Jalen Hurts has found himself in this offseason, deep legacy conversations with other QBs that have found themselves missing a ring, such as Cam Newton. I've heard some people talk about Donovan McNabb. I've heard Jalen Hurts being put in top 5 categories. He's debatably, to me, a top 10 to 13 quarterback. I don't think he's a top 5 quarterback. I don't think that the ring elevates you completely. I don't think that nobody elevated Eli Manning over Aaron Rodgers when he got 2 rings. They didn't elevate Eli Manning over Peyton Manning. They struggled to elevate him over Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers and company, who he had more rings than. Because context is important. You realize it's not just them, even though they may have amazing playoff runs. Everything else comes into fact that talent, execution, regular season performance, playoff performance, all that stuff comes into effect. And yes, the ring is super significant, but I don't think that it completely erases what everybody else has done and completely moves you ahead. With that being said, though, with that being said, right, the Eagles, man, had an amazing Super Bowl. And Jalen Hurts, to me, like I said before the Super Bowl, had that Super Bowl ring puts you in Eli Manning conversation. So at least that puts you in the conversation of almost, you keep this picture in the conversation where at least you're Hall of Fame eligible, right? Because you have something significant on your record. You beat Mahomes. You've outplayed Mahomes arguably 2 times in the Super Bowl. So when you look back at your career, I bet you're winning. And the winning percentage for Jalen Hurts so far in his career is high. It's one of the top three winning percentages in the NFL right now of starting QB. So if he keeps this going on and he finds a way to pull out another ring, let's say possibly 2, because this Eagle team is stacked, he is, like I said before we went to the break, he is finding himself in Eli Manning territory, which could get you a gold jacket. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. Okay. So, the NFL draft was a big highlight this offseason, right? The NFL draft was a humongous highlight this offseason. We could go to Travis Hunter going to the Jags after they trade up multiple picks, trade ups, arguably their future, to move up and get Travis Hunter at 2 and put him with Brian Thomas, who is a good duo. Travis Hunter is going to split. So he may not, they say that there's only packages. He may be playing anywhere from 12 to 20 plays on offense, which usually there's about 44 snaps on offense. So he's going to play about half of them. He should be full-time at corner on the other side, and that's the side that Jags struggle. We could get into Sanders, that fell in the draft all the way to 7th, where I feel like, and I'm going to let it be known now, Sanders fall into draft was a big, and even if you don't think that he was supposed to be the number 2 quarterback, number two person taken off the draft, fine. Even if you thought he wasn't a top 10 quarterback, even if you thought he wasn't a first-round quarterback, Nobody could explain to me that he's a 7th-round quarterback. I hear some people trying to say that 3rd round was perfect for me. 3rd round perfect for me because I didn't think he was that great copy. I completely disagree. I think that a quarterback that has the highest percentage in college. When he was in Jackson State, people said the talent was not good enough, so he had to elevate himself. Let's not forget, Shedeur Sanders is not just some trash QB. When he came out, not just because of his name, he was being drafted. He was being scouted by Alabama, by the Florida States. This is not a trash QB just with his father's last name. Shedeur had produced, leading the country in completed percentage. 3 wide receivers draft. So it's not just Travis Hunter either. The worst O-line in college football. Back-to-back years. One a top 5 worst or top 5 bad O-line in college football. So to me, the tape that people say that they're watching, a lot of it people say it's attitude. Now I understand I'm actually being sensitive for that. I don't agree with it, but I understand that that's probably what happened and stuff like that. But to furthermore, Shedeur is outplaying everybody in Cleveland Browns camp. And for me, I want Shedeur to not start till week 4. I would rather Shedeur not start till week 4 specifically because if you let him fall down to the 7th round, there is no pressure to start him day 1. So don't give him that day 1 pressure because you didn't think he was worth it when you drafted him. Now, he may have proved you wrong this preseason. If he plays so well, you have no option to start him. But I want you to start Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett, one of the two. Because if that's who you thought you were going to start the season with and you drafted him and like the owner has came out ridiculously and said basically that Shedeur Sanders wasn't his choice, that was a GM choice. Well, copy. Well, let's stick on that. Because around 4 years, around 4 or 5 years, when that money is due, you will have to pay. People will have to pay. Now, furthermore on the draft, my G-Men, man, they got me excited for the year, right? I don't think that this is a Super Bowl year. I don't really think this is a playoff year. I think this is a big improvement year. This is a year that the talent roster has, and I've been saying it for a few years with people that the roster had to take a talent jump. When we faced the Eagles 2 years ago in the playoffs, there was a big talent difference in the roster. And you've seen it from the first snap that the Giants played an uphill battle that they needed to win in a shootout, and they could not compete in a shootout. Do I think they could compete in a shootout this year? Not every game, but I think that the Giants' offense is different this year. I do see that Brian Daboll is excited with Russell Wilson. I do see, talking about the draft, that Abdul Carter is going to add something ridiculous to their front 4 that didn't produce enough with stars, Pro Bowl potential on that line. And you added him in there. And now that line is arguably the best in the NFL, arguably the best in the division over the Eagles. Arguably, we have a top 3 front 7, top 5 front 7. The secondary is super young in Adema Polson. You add Deontay Banks has a big year. You add Javon Holland on the back end and safeties. Beautiful. Beautiful. Now the Giants need to put it together. Right? Malik Neighbors wasn't dealing with the best QB situation last year. Almost 3 different starters last year. Huge improvement in the QB room, Malik Neighbors. For Malik Neighbors. Russell Wilson as the starter. Jameis Wilson as a backup, but Jackson Dart looks amazing. Since we're talking about the draft, Jackson Dart looks amazing. And you don't have him starting week 1. There's no week 1 pressure for a top pick. I love it. I absolutely love it. We can keep going, though. Since we left, my Florida Gators won that NCAA chip in March. I need us to clap it up, right? We're going to go through everything, right? So I just need us to clap it up and keep a spade a spade. When Todd Golden came in, a lot of people said that Todd Golden was not a good enough coach. He won't adjust. Florida Gators program is bad. And we was looking like we was on the downhill. I don't know what happened when he got the Title IX case, the false case, and he beat that. That changed our whole sports program around. And between that and the LSU comeback by Florida, that was a big game with DJ Lackman and them where everything has seemed to turn around. I don't know what's going on, but everything has seemed to turn around in the Florida program, sports program, athletic program, period. Winning the NCAA tournament was huge. huge, and then they reload the next year getting Boogie and Xavier and returning majority of everybody except for Walter Clayton and Elijah Martin and Will Richard. You return everybody except for 3 people. The whole front court returns. And then you get the 2 top guards in the transfer portal. Todd Golden, you working back-to-back season. And we're gonna talk about this all year, back-to-back season. College basketball 26 coming out too. We got so much to talk about. College basketball 26 coming out too. Now, I'm saying 26 because I'm hoping it may be 27. Somebody said they may have heard it's 27. It's about to be 2026. I was mad when I heard it. May not be as mad now, but mad when I heard it because I don't want to wait 2-3 years for a damn game, man. I don't. But listen, I'm grown. I understand stuff happens. I do want some quality. I want the game, but I do want some quality. So I can't get mad at them because people are complaining about the college football game and you don't get quality. So that's how that goes. Basketball next year. NBC has a big year. Amazon has a big year. And I love it because you're getting guys that's coming in that's definitely going to change the landscape of how we're speaking about sports. We're going to change how we're reflecting sports. A lot of times we used to deal with a lot of really speaking about the sports, going through the daily highlights, going through stuff. And I almost missed that from Sports Center. Every show's a talk show. First Take used to be a rarity where they at 10 o'clock they had a talk show. The rest of the day we're getting into a lot of other stuff where all shows are talk shows. Debate shows throughout all sports, all channels, all major networks. And that bothers me a little. I think that the way that they approach it as well is not the best. I don't really love it, how it always feels media versus player, and that may not change with the NBC versus Amazon, but you have some of the high-level players in media that we respect. The Michael Jordans of the world, the Carmelos of the world, T-Max of the world, Blake Griffin, Dirk. I'm trying to keep naming Jamal Crawford, Candace Parker. You have a bunch of players that we respect their games highly, respect their IQ highly. Their legacy speaks for itself for some of the people, for all the people I even said. But we need to just start approaching sports differently. High IQ sports, like I said, and not that ESPN is not approaching it on a high IQ level, but you're not teaching anybody anything. You're not really. Some of the stuff you're saying is debatably true. People are struggling, facting it. Like, we just need to up it. And I'm not good with the current media. I've stopped watching ESPN and First Take for a very long time. I may step in, watch Sports Center. The one show I do watch is Get Up. But other than that, during the football season, you won't catch me on ESPN because it's not conducive at all, whatsoever. NBA free agency. Boy. The West is reloaded. So OKC wins the chip, right? Lakers get an early exit out the playoffs. Timberwolves can't get past them. Ant was a problem. Shutting down on the Lakers, LeBron, all them. Going through the next round. And then it was just too much. I'm not going to lie. I don't know what it was with the OKC getting past the Nuggets, but they finally got past their youth. They learned the lessons they got from that series. They used that and then went the rest of the way. And it took care of them. SGA played a phenomenal series. Jordan S type series, 35-5 or 36-6. That's Jordan S, especially in the finals. Highly efficient. Definitely played good ball. Now, I didn't want to see Hallie hurt. Now, the torn ACLs became a huge thing last year. I did hear some people saying the way that people train so much in off-season, not enough practice during the regular season, that's a huge part to me. That people don't practice during the regular season. I heard one player say they had about 8 practices all year last year. But guys train 3 to 4 times a day in the off-season. That's a lot. It's a big change in your body, especially when you talk from months to months. You're off for about 2 to 3 months. You're working out like that for the next couple, let's say 4 to 6 to 7 months. You're not practicing and you're approaching your body differently. It's a big shift back and forth, and you're going full-fledged in either one of these months. But with that being said, the rest of the West took notice, and they got right. Rockets trade for KD. Don't like what Jalen Green did or didn't think that eventually, and I agree. If you're hoping that you want to max out this team, you're hoping Jalen Green eventually could at least match the player you're trading for get around that room, or at least affect this team the way you need to affect. And when you're getting a chance to get KD, you're seeing what it's going to take to get KD, and you're looking around the team that you're still going to have around him. To me, it's a perfect trade. You don't know what Jalen Green's going to grow into. You don't know how much better he gets. You don't know if he can lead this team. You don't even know if he was the best young player on this team. Maybe the best scoring option at the moment, but he may not be the best young player on this team. One of the Thompson twin, the men, or you will have Sengun, and now you have Kevin Durant on this team where he's not. He was a great trade asset, great young player. Him and Devin Booker may be a great scoring young tandem. Not really young, but coming into their prime or in their prime tandem out there in Phoenix. I don't think that Houston should think twice about the trade that they made. It's time to lock in. You have a deep roster with signing Dorian Finney-Smith. The Rockets have found themselves to stay in Steven Adams, Jabari Smith as well, who I didn't even mention they have as well. Well, they got rid of Cam Whitmore, who is a young, talented player, but could not find room on the bench because they're so deep on the team, especially at forward. Then the Nuggets hurt them as well. These two teams are, to me right now, and the Lakers are like a little of a wild card to me. These two teams are really, really, really threats in the West to OKC. Because to me, when the Nuggets go get Jonas Valanciunas, that's where the Nuggets were struggling, getting Jokic some rest, keeping him rejuvenated when he comes back on the floor to be possibly the NBA best player that you are, and to continue to affect the game. And Jokic played amazing at times during these playoffs, sometimes not. Getting Jonas Valanciunas as a backup center, humongous. Getting Bruce Brown back, humongous. Tim Hardaway Jr. to stretch out the floor and knock down some big shots. A vet three-point shooter, humongous, taking him from Detroit. That is huge because they didn't lose much, right? And then you trade MPJ, who's sometimes not reliable, sometimes you're struggling with injuries. You trade him for Cam Johnson, who possibly may be better. As good of a three-point shooter. Amazing offseason. Now, the only downfall of this offseason is Jokic not signing an extension. Luka signed his extension with the Lakers. And we can move on to the Lakers because the Lakers did have a pretty good offseason. If you look at it now, you get your star center for the future. You probably didn't want to lose Dorian Finney-Smith. You're trying to figure out the stuff for LeBron, but looks like after the Luka signing and press conference, all that stuff, there's a clear understanding that he wants to win that as well. So Luka's not waiting. The Lakers seem to want to win that as well. DeAndre Ayton and Luka look to be a part of the growing part of the future, but LeBron looks like he's going to be there, and that they're all a part of winning right now. They want to win right now. Luka looks like rookie Luka. And that's a scary Luka as he gets into his prime. If his health is there as he gets into his prime, and we're talking about MVP Luka. And he's looking for a chip, and he's said it on quote, we're going back to the finals. We want to win the chip. That's our focus. I love it. 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 Okay, East real quick. Celtics dismantled the team. Dismantled the squad, y'all. Celtics dismantled the squad in a crazy manner, but I told people what was going to happen. I told people that this was a bigger go-home year because of this luxury tax, and we've seen it take into full effect this full year. Some people think that's why Luka was traded. Also, some other side issues also played a part. But definitely that was one of the reasons why Luka was traded through the luxury tax and them not knowing what was going on with the extension that Luka did sign with the Lakers. They also, the Celtics just could not handle it. They also, you got to remember, when guys are selling teams and people are selling teams, people want to make profit. So people are not expected to spend more money and lose a luxury tax and stuff like that. They want to make money. Huge. Which is why you see what was going on with the Suns. Owner just buys a team, they take a big swing and go get Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal. It doesn't work out. Some big changes need to be made. Because these owners are not willing to keep losing money. These professional sports teams are big profits. And profits. They bring in money per year. Don't think that any of these owners plan on losing money. That's a big loss for something that they thought was a guaranteed moneymaker. Okay, NFL time, right? So, like I said, I wanted to get I want to get back to y'all by the time NFL got here or whatnot. Huge for me. Preseason is a lot of position battles, QB battles, stuff with finding out injuries, different things like that. Are people making the teams, cuts, practice squad players, feel me? A whole bunch of stuff, and I love it. But I want to make sure I got to you so we could break it down throughout the preseason. And I'm gonna go division of storyline each week, and where we at in this and where I stand. Right. So we're gonna start with the NFC East because I have my Giants hat on. Cowboys, utter mess. That's where I stand right there. Now they have a running back competition between Phil Maffa, Jaden Blue, who Blue is separating himself. Right. You get George Pickens, so your offense skill players are looking fairly well right now, right? Their line has not taken was not addressed. You have Tyler Smith that was already possibly hurt, out for the season, I believe. Your rookie lineman Booker, we see what he is. Your line struggled last year. Let's be real. It struggled before Dak got hurt. It struggled after Dak got hurt. Your defense on that back end, your secondary struggled. You didn't address it much this year. Your front seven, and especially your front four, had taken a big hit this free agency, losing DeMarcus Lawrence. Losing a D tackle as well. I don't feel like you addressed it much. So some of these star players are there and back, but the roster is not good. And I'm going to come out and say it early. The roster is not good out there in Dallas. Trayvon Diggs is a big hit or miss. I was saying this when he got All-Pro. Getting All-Pro and leading the league in yards and touchdowns giving up is not a good look. What I will say is that not signing Micah could be as bad as not signing my Giants not signing Saquon. You have to fix that. I don't get what Jerry Jones is thinking and letting Myles Garrett, T.J. Watt, and all of them get paid before. But now even this not being an easy deal, you top the number by, 100 mil? By 0.1? Maybe a mil, if that's necessary. I just don't get what's the big holdup. What's the deal? You need Micah. And if you don't think you need Micah, I dare you to let him walk. It makes no sense. Like, I just don't get what somebody for. You're overthinking it. Jerry Jones does this all the time. He did it with CeeDee Lamb. He did it with Trayvon Diggs, where he may have paid Trayvon Diggs too early still. He did it with Dak Prescott twice now. Like, come on. Cut it out with the players you need. Not even fighting off the real players that you can arguably argue with them about the number. It's the players who need it. And then you're doing it a year early, and it's lasted for 2 years. The Commanders. Another thing I don't get. Terry McLaurin. Y'all need him. Jaden Daniels needs him. He threw the long ball a ridiculous amount at LSU. You didn't throw the long ball as much last year because it was not practiced as much. You needed to make sure he was being methodical, working down the field. He's still a rookie. You want to trust him, but after a while, you let his magic work, right? If he's not there, Deebo Samuel's not stretching that field the way Terry McLaurin is. He was the number one low ball receiver last year, number one contested ball receiver last year. He's not stretching the the field the way Terry McLaurin is. Deebo is not doing that. Deebo adds something else. They're a lovely addition together, especially as you go get Larry Tunsil on the left end. So now you have a blindside block. Like, franchise got to stop hurting themselves. And my Giants had done it a lot. And this season we didn't. We didn't hurt ourselves, and I love it. I love it. So right now the QB competition is not a competition. Russell Wilson is our number one star. So I think the season either has a turn. If we go for a turn, it looks like we're starting to look for drafting again. Russell didn't play as well as we needed. everything's not coming together as well as we need it. We're taking steps, but we're not there. I think Dart comes in week 8 to 10. Somewhere around it. Jameis, I think, also gets a chance if, like, my week 6 stuff is not looking great. Remember, the start of the Giants' schedule is brutal. So there is a chance that this stuff does go haywire. If they pull up an upset or two, I'm not going to lie. Some of these teams we do think is better than they really are already. Or there's question marks. On the Giants as well. If the Giants pull off some of this stuff, I'm not going to lie. You may not see Dart till next year. Or like the last game of the season or something like that. If the Giants make the playoffs, you definitely won't see Dart till like the last game of the season. Eagles lost a lot, I'm not going to lie. Eagles lost a lot on both of their lines, offense, defense. Their defensive line is pretty much their defensive line. You still have Jalen Carter. Still have Davis. Still have Nolan Smith. You re-signed your old pro linebacker, Zach Braun. You still have the 2 corners in Dijon and Mitchell. The key players they re-signed, they lost some other players such as, I'm not going to say my boy C.J. Gardner-Johnson is not a key player, but the key youth players they did re-sign. You got to call a spade. They re-signed some of the linemen. They make sure that Jalen Hurts and company is good. They make sure that A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith was happy. Going into this year, everybody on the Eagles team on the same page. So for me to see if they can do back-to-back, that's what they're focused on, and they're focused on winning the chip this year. They said that they were champs last year. I love it. As a Giants fan, I don't love it, but as a football fan, they talking that talk. We're gonna move on quickly because we're gonna get into all the divisions. NFC North, Bears. Some people feel like Ben Johnson starting out screaming at Caleb is not gonna work. Listen, I think Caleb is tougher than some people may be crediting him for. The boy, Caleb, is willing to be coached. And you've seen after practice that he's staying after doing extra work. You see after he was yelled at, he's playing better. Same thing as Luther Burden, who I felt like dropped way too low, and it could be a steal for the Browns. Ben Johnson and them are in the perfect situation. They have to figure out how to work. It's going to be trials and tribulations. The Browns the Bears have struggled on offense since the 80s. They've been looking for a quarterback since the 80s. Rush Gresham got you through it for a while or whatnot, but you've been looking for a quarterback for the most part since the 80s, right? I think that Ben Johnson holding them accountable, pulling players off the field, having the guys run as a team and stuff like that is huge. Aaron Glenn is doing a lot of that in the AFC East with the Jets. And them doing that, teams that need to build structure, to build from the ground up. They just came from the Lions, so a franchise that we know historically was struggling and needed to build from the ground up, and look what their championship contenders now. So they're there while the team built the bricks up. So they know what it looks like. You have to have discipline. If you don't have discipline, you can't start with anything. You're going to struggle. The talent can take you but so far if you don't have discipline. So I like that they're installing that. I like that they're installing that. That's huge. Ben Johnson also likes to run play action heavy offense. If you can't run play action heavy offense, if you're not communicating, if you're not in control, if you're not disciplined. So I could feel Ben Johnson on what he's doing, right? Packers. Main thing for Packers is you added Marquise Golden, right? You lose Jair Alexander, but the main thing is the main thing. Jordan Love's health. If he's healthy, I believe Jordan Love is a top 10 quarterback back in the league. I believe Jordan Love could be as talented as some of any of the young quarterbacks in the league. I believe he's the next great Packer quarterback as well. His health is the main thing. The main thing this year. If Jordan Love is healthy, they're in this division. I know a lot of people are looking at the Lions, where the Lions have lost 2 coordinators, and we're going to bring it into the Lions now. How will they get over losing 2 coordinators and losing a bunch of position coaches? You have to replace all those guys that were there that helped build up the program. Now, granted, you were expected to lose these guys within the last couple of years or within the next few years as well. So you knew what was coming. So you're prepared for this stuff. But you have to replace these guys. And some of these guys are gems that Aaron Glenn on defense. Ben Johnson on offense. One of the best creators on offense we have right now. Injury-wise, how did these guys come in? Jameis Sam Williams, I think, takes over as wide receiver 1 this year. I just think he has another good year. I had him on fantasy last year. I think he had a big year last year. Some people were surprised at how big of a year he had. I think he has even bigger year this year and possibly takes over as wide receiver 1 on Amon St. Brown. The boy is going to be ridiculous. But if their team can stay healthy, this is one, we were talking about with the 49ers, but this is one of these 1 to next 2 years where maybe the Ravens are in some of that situation too, where you need to win a chip or we're starting to go to the other side of this championship window. Vikings. The J.J. McCartney replaced Darnold. Now, people are saying, I was a believer in J.J. McCartney. I liked him in college. But if you're talking about minimizing the system and keeping it simple and all that stuff, I just think you can do that bust so much. I think you will do that bust so much. The one person that can do it is Kevin O'Connell, though. He has done it with a few QBs. People are calling him the QB whisperer. The one person that can do it is Kevin O'Connell. Excuse me. The one person that can do it is Kevin O'Connell. If he's figured out Darnold, some people weren't full believers of Kirk. I didn't think Kirk needed to fully be figured out or anything like that. But some people say he figured out Kirk, or him and Kirk have made it work for the most part. I think that worked as well. JJ is a good option. I'm not sure if they're the best roster. Some people feel like they're the best roster. I think they may be the best defense in the division. Their coordinators are amazing coordinators. Calling Brian Flores as a defensive coordinator, I always feel like it's going to be a cheat. You got to figure out that defense. So as long as you have to figure out that 4-3 defense and try to get around that defense, they're going to be tough week in and week out to beat. J.J. McCartney can help hold up on the offensive end. Let's see. NFC South. We got some big changes in NFC South. The Bucs, to me, is the head of the division. 65 combined passing TDs in the last 2 years, with a lot of time meant from Mike Evans and a lot of time meant from Chris Godwin. And then you add in Emeka Egbuka this year. Yeah, where I was down on Baker a lot in Cleveland. I was questioning him a lot coming into Tampa, especially behind Brady. And he's handled this situation phenomenally. I have to give credit where it's due. The energy that he's had helped maintain in the locker room after Brady being gone is huge because the Patriots couldn't figure out how to do it. The winning and cohesiveness and good decisions that he's made, we're not expecting. I've seen Baker in college. He's a wild card. Very Brett Favre-ish. This doesn't look Brett Favre-ish, though, to me. Or maybe Brett Favre in his good years, in his great years. That's a Hall of Fame quarterback, so let me be respectful. But this is not the Brett Favre-ish, the gunslinger, I'm going to pray and wish my wide receiver. No, this guy's dying it up. He's been eating up a lot of defense the last 2 years. So for me, that's where it starts at. When you see it in preseason, he may not play a lot. They're playing only 3 games now, so he may not play the first game. He does have an injury, so Kyle Trask has been starting, so he may not play till week 3. But that's the cream of the crop right now to me. The Falcons are going from a big train into going to Penix full-time this year, and I love Penix. Penix, I think you're going to see an up in Kyle Pitts this year finally. Kyle Pitts seemed to be extremely happy, and his targets went up when Penix came in. It seemed like he just understood the offense, and the offense was super complex. If you heard Kirk Cousins refer to it in the Netflix series Quarterbacks, I'm not sure if anybody watched it, but go check it out. So you see inside some of these QB minds and stuff like that. But you see in quarterback that he said that the offense was a little complex, a lot of emotions, stuff like that. Penix dealt with a lot of that in Washington. With Caleb DeBoer, the Alabama's coach now's offense. So with him dealing with that already in college, he had some more time sitting on the sideline while Kirk Cousins was in to gather the paper. And that's what I think can help a lot of these QBs. Like I talked about for the Shadors, the Darts. And then Cam Ward not going to have that chance. But for these other QBs that do have that chance, I do think it helps. Jordan Love, I do think benefited from it. But I do think Penix benefits from it. Drake London should have another good year. And that defense is pretty much stacked. I'm not going to lie. You do lose Simmons this year, which I don't get why he's still a free agent, but somebody's going to sign him, so he's too good of star safety. So I guess he's just waiting to see where he fits it. But that defense could help them contest. But I think they're fighting with second place, and they're fighting with second place with the Panthers. The Panthers are just too good. I mean, not too good. The Panthers are a lot better than what people think they were 2 years ago or the beginning of last year. They're not a 4-win team. They may be somewhere around a 6 to 7-win team. I don't think that the Panthers make the playoffs, but I do think they make an improvement. I think they're in the Giants level thing where they're gonna have their franchise hopeful going into the next year or going forward, because you're gonna see them start competing. You drafted Arizona McMillan. You're gonna see what he looks like. You're gonna see that Bryce take another step, I believe, this year after getting through the sophomore more struggles and stepping up and having a really, really, really big year. I think that I think that the defense may take a big year as well. That secondary is super young, but they're building behind J.C. Horn, and then J.C. Horn can stay healthy. That secondary could surprise some people. He always does early in the season while he's healthy. So if he can stay healthy, J.C. Horn can get his name up even more. Because for us that know that, no. But that secondary and that defense need him. Because that offense should be able to produce and put up something this year. Yes, they was towards the end of the season where they were a real tough beat at the end of the season. We're going to get into the AFC quickly. NFC West doesn't have a lot changing. Has a lot of people that need to do better. The Seattle's the only team that has a lot of stuff changing with Jalen Milroe and company out there. I would get into Jalen Milroe and company throughout the preseason. Jalen Milroe is really, really, really a prospect I did like. Jalen Milroe replacing Geno. I'm not sure if he is better than Geno, but I do like Jalen Milroe and what he does bring to the game. I question his arm sometimes, but they love him out there in Seattle, so I love it. But AFC East. Main thing for Miami, Tua's health, plain and simple. Tua's healthy, they're a playoff contender, championship contender, and then the road stuff. They got to figure out how to win in the cold. That's going to hurt them in the playoffs regardless. Whether you're playing in Kansas City, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland, a bunch of these places. Like, it's not going to matter where you play. New York, any of these places, they're not going to matter. Matter where you play, you're done. If you can't play in the cold, and that seemed like legit your problem. Jets, great situation with Justin Fields. Need to keep him healthy. I like Justin Fields. I like what Aaron Glenn is building over there. Discipline. Building from the ground up. I love it. The Bills need to find a way to repeat what they did last year, or just upheld and keep improving, because they kind of felt like they overachieved last year. So you need to make sure you get James Cook and keep building, guys. It was supposed to be a step back, but just keep building. Josh Allen getting into his prime, so you never know what it is. That's why I said you're never out of this races, or never a full rebuild with the Lamar Jacksons, the Josh Allens, the Joe Burrows, some of these QBs and CJ Strouds and them, because they're always going to keep you in it because they're too talented. You just need to make sure you put some structure and some talent around them. That's built. Patriots. Drake May, I'm half for. A lot of other people love Drake May. I'm not big on Drake May. I'm not going to lie. Drake May made a lot of good plays last year, but he also made a lot of questionable bad plays. And some of his good plays I felt like were 50-50 plays that receivers came down on. So let's see what he does this year. Let's see what he does. A new coaching staff, a new playbook for him to learn new situation. So it could benefit him because Vrabel does know the organization, does know what he's doing. I think he's going to run a play action or offense, but let's see what it does. Let's see what it does. That AFC South, though, I want to get into. The AFC South. Trevor Lawrence prove a year for the Jags. A big prove a year. So I don't think they make the playoffs, but you have to make this interesting. You have two options out there. The wide receiver believe that they still have Christian Kirk, or they traded Christian Kirk to the Texans. I have to double check. But you have a few options out there. The running back room is a running back by committee now, after I feel like you moved on from Trevor Etienne, kind of. Travis Etienne. But you're gaining talent on offense, which we felt like you didn't have. On defense, Travis Hunter will be a full-time corner. You have some young, talented corners out there, I will say. The D-line is sneaky talented. You should be able to compete in the division at least. The Colts are not world beaters. Daniel Jones versus Anthony Richardson is a QB battle we will be watching throughout the preseason, so mark it down. DJ, someone that people told me is not a quality or is not going to be a starting QB for anybody else. Wrong. He was a starting QB for Minnesota Vikings already, right? But also, he is pushing for this job. But Anthony Richardson is now outplaying him because DJ came in strong, and Anthony Richardson has upped the play these last 2 weeks. Has upped the play. Now, preseason games we're going to see this week coming up. I want to try to drop a podcast possibly next Sunday after a lot of the preseason games where I am going to come talk to you guys about that. Possibly Monday. So I'm going to let you guys know when I'm dropping it. I'm going to drop it on the story. I'm going to be dropping YouTube shorts and reels to let you guys know when I'll be dropping next week's episode, right? But AFC West, right? AFC West, to me, I'm going to be honest, the clean state. Everybody knows that quarterback. Everybody kind of knows a lot of situations, not many huge position battles out there in the AFC West. It's a lot of people hoping to dethrone Mahomes. Vegas made a nice attempt getting Geno, Pete Carroll and company, good draft. Still had Brock Bowers. So Geno has a lot of good options. Brock Bowers should have another good year because Geno likes his tight ends, right? Chargers look to take another step up out there. Let's see if Herbert could come through in big games. Chargers them look to take a big step up with Harbaugh out there as he had them have a big year one and making the playoffs. You also have the Denver Broncos who look to take another big step as they had a big year one with Sean Payton and company and Bo Nix. So the division is tight. There's not a lot of QB battles and stuff like that going on out there. And such as the AFC North. There is not much QB battle except for one. And maybe it's arguably the biggest QB battle that you're getting this offseason, which is Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders. Right now, Shedeur Sanders is out playing them. I think QB1 right now still is, regardless of the fact how stuff has looked, is Joe Flacco. I think QB2 is a toss-up. Kenny Pickett has, in my belief, has looked the worst. He was injured these last 2 weeks as well, or this last week, so he hasn't really practiced. Dylan Gabriel got some first team reps. Shedeur Sanders is the only QB that has gotten first team reps, but he has looked the best. For the most part, Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco have been taking the first team reps. And to me, those have been the quarterbacks that look the worst. The two quarterbacks that have looked the best, to be very honest, is Shedeur Sanders and Joe Flacco. So, my prayer is Joe Flacco starts week 1. Shedeur Sanders comes in week 4. That's my prayer. And we go from there. I'm going to hit you guys. I need you guys to like, comment, text, write me, share, text your family, show love. We're going to keep building, keep grinding. I want to take you guys to the world with me, man. Let's do this. Season 1, Season 2 back. We here. Lock in with me.